Of course, college basketball off and running, as we talked about. Indiana last night with another win, 70-35. Very pedestrian-like for Indiana as they went through it easily. But the one thing that is steadfast is they, up until the end, they let a 9-0 run happen. So some threes went up, but before
Right.
then, they were holding yet another opponent to under 20% shooting from the field. If those three shots don't go down, that would have been a second consecutive. And I know that they're not playing Gonzaga here, but I don't recall back-to-back games of holding opponents to under 20% shooting.
No, I don't recall that at all. That's been the biggest improvement of this team. As much as Archie was known as a defensive guy and a pack line guy, it never did really work consistently. And for them to, what was it? Lafayette missed 25 straight shots or something? It was over 20.
Yes.
And then, last night again, they keep Jackson State from scoring. So I think they're up to 8th or 9th in Ken Pom in defensive efficiency. I thought somebody told me they're first in the country in defensive field goal shooting after last night. So, yeah, their defense is legit. Does it mean they're going to, play like this the rest of the season? No, because they're going to play better competition and teams are going to get hot and hit shots. But I think they are playing good enough defense that, as Woodson has talked about, it'll be the kind of defense that will keep them in most games. And looking around the Big Ten, and I've watched nearly every team, I think Purdue's clearly the best team in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
But Michigan looks like they're overrated. They not only lost to Seton Hall at home, they got run out of the gym by Arizona. Illinois lost twice and struggled with Kansas State last night. They're a little bit overrated. Ohio State's struggled a few times. I mean, I don't, other than Purdue, I don't see there's any team in the Big Ten that Indiana should be like fearful of. I mean, I don't see one.
Speaking of Purdue on a national scale, how good are they? I mean, they look like they are. You've got Gonzaga, and Purdue,
Kansas.
Purdue may. It's hard to imagine they may be up there with the Gonzaga because
you're talking to the only AP voter in the country who voted Purdue number 1 this week. So wow. I watched them when they beat Villanova, and that was impressive. And I watched them when they dominated North Carolina. In the game before that, I think they played Wright State. I know Wright State's not great, but they're usually one of the better teams in the Horizon League, and they beat them by like 40. I mean, what I like about Purdue is they've got every element of the game. They got big men, Edey and Williams, and Edey is, he's unique and he's so large. Williams is more of a traditional power big man, and he's experienced and tough. First is good, and he not only can run the floor and mix it up, he can make threes. Stefanovic, last time I looked, had 18 threes in 5 games. He's one of the better shooters in the country. And Jaden Ivey's the lottery pick. I mean, so they've got it all. Plus they have some other guys, Gillis and Newman. And I mean, they got depth. They're good. They're Final Four good. They could win the national championship.
And Edey, and it's not that his talent is so good, but like you said, he's unique because you take all that talent you just talked about and you put this basically Andre the Giant piece in the middle that is an immovable object. And he's hard to shoot around. He changes the game. And that's all he has to do is alter the game, alter shots. It's all and that's a big piece for them. And something that they've never had all of this together, at least not under the Matt Painter era, I think, at this level.
And the thing about Edey is, I mean, he's getting better. I mean, he's
improved.
He's got a lot of room to grow. He's becoming more confident offensively. He's getting stronger so he can hold his position defensively. I think that's one thing that Mike Woodson and Indiana are working on is they need to get Michael Durr up to speed because when they play Purdue, Michael Durr's going to have to go in there and deal with Edey some. Edey's too big for Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson. Michael Durr's going to have to play 10 to 15 minutes that game against Edie, in my opinion.
But is Durr strong enough? He's I don't know if he's strong
I don't
enough
know
to
if
do
he
that.
is. I don't know if he's mobile enough. I mean, he's from what I've seen, he's decently mobile, but he's not at Edie's level.
Yeah, he's going to be a tough to deal with if Indiana looks to snap that 0-for-9 streak against Purdue. But Indiana's basketball team is definitely on the rise, looking better.
Yeah, they're better.
They've got a Marshall game coming up Saturday, then a test coming up on Tuesday as they travel to Syracuse in the Carrier Dome to take on a Syracuse team that hasn't looked quite as good of late. They gave up 100 to Colgate at home.
Yeah. And they lost to Colgate 100 to 85, which is weird. So that already eliminates the excuse that people can't attack Syracuse's zone. Yes, they can. Colgate did it. It's the Boeheim show. Jim Boeheim's son's buddy, and I think is Jimmy. I think the other one's name is Jimmy. And they got another guard. What's it, Joe Girard or something like that? A little point guard. I mean, they're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to try and play fairly fast and line up in that. The thing about Syracuse is they frequently start slow and get better as the year goes on. And that'll be a tough game for Indiana. First road game. Carrier Dome's a different kind of place to play. We'll see what they got. They can win the game. I'll be very curious to see how they play in that game.
Indiana's shooting is a positive of late. They've been shooting the ball a lot better. Miller Kopp, but I've seen Miller Kopp try to find his game, his role in the rhythm in the offense of late. We've seen Parker Stewart do that in the last few games, even Christian Lander the game before last. But guys all seem to be trying to find their role now in the offense, with Miller Kopp and Parker Stewart being the last two starters that really found that. And Parker Stewart, once he has stepped out from behind the three-point line and not just hitting those, last night he was trying to get to the rim. I don't think I've seen him try that one time prior to last night's game.
Yeah, I can't think of. I don't know. Have the stats in front of me. I can't imagine he shot many free throws this year. He's a really good catch and shoot guy, and Mike Woodson, being a former pro coach, I'm sure knows and is working on developing more offensive sets to get him open threes, because that's his game. He's not a shoot off the dribble guy. He's not a drive guy. He's a catch and shoot, make three guys. When he gets his feet set, he's a really good 3-point shooter. Kopp has done some things. He has a quick trigger sometimes. He's taking a few shots like early. It's like, whoa,
that one last night, buddy.
Shot, man, huh? He did that a couple times. He does it once or twice every game. He'll be coming down and take one like 2 or 3 feet behind the line. It's like,
yeah, 2 seconds into the shot clock.
Yeah, it's like that might work against Jackson State, but don't be doing that in a 3-point game against Maryland. No, you know what I mean? The one thing that's been, I don't know what the right word. They've had an opportunity to get more minutes for Lander and Geronimo and Durr and even Leal, because of the 3 guys who've been out. Finney with the calf injury and Galloway with the broken hand or wrist, whatever it is, and Duncan with the suspension has shortened the rotation. And because they've won pretty easily, they've had a chance to get these other guys some minutes. And I think that's something that was really lacking last year. Lander never got any chance to play in November.
And if he did, he was out in 2 minutes.
Yeah. And neither did, Geronimo didn't get a lot of time to play. And those guys have got a chance to come in, make mistakes, get some things on film that, Lander made a mistake in the first half last night and Woodson jerked him immediately. It was a turnover. It was either a turnover or a defensive breakdown. And I noticed that Woodson pulled him and he kept him standing there right next to him on the bench, and the game was going on, and Woodson and Lander were talking as the game was going on, and he had his grease board out and he was showing him what he did wrong. And I don't think he put him in again the rest of the first half. And it was like, you can't do this. You're not going to be able to do this against good teams, because it can cost a team a game. And that's been the one thing they cleaned it up last night in the second half, but they've been a little sloppy with the basketball. I mean, obviously 27 turnovers against Lafayette is ridiculous. Then last night, I think they had 8 in the first half and 3 in the second. So it was better, but
Yeah.
you can't. Some of the turnovers they've had have been silly turnovers.
Yeah, and a couple of times he's pointed to Jordan Geronimo for being sloppy with the ball, for doing some things, and
He has been.
he'll and at least he calls him out, says, "Hey, we've got to work with him on that," and that's good. That but he also knows that Jordan Geronimo's a raw talent, an OG Anunoby type. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I know that Tim on the comments pointed out yesterday, I think, that when Landry came out, that Woody had him over there talking to him, but the point of not putting him back in, that's a little bit more emphasis to, hey,
Right.
man, you want to play, you can't do this.